talk, have a relationship, be a human. It's not that hard. Alright, maybe that was a little too intense. I'll explain what I mean in a second after my heart rate comes down for a bit. Alright, man, I love this thing. Anyways, we are doing this right and proper. So you think that your outreach messages might not be seen. That could be true, or this real life excerpt could be happening to you. Da 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 da. Do you want Bruh. Why do you think that happened? Well, aside of me being crazy and throwing my phone away like that, I was getting pitched at first sight from someone that I've never met or even spoken to about probably video editing services. What did you think was gonna happen? But even though this was a hilariously exaggerated occasion, the basics from it still apply in pretty much everything. And so can help anyone. One of the worst things that you can do is pitch something to someone that doesn't need them, doesn't even want them, or maybe not even aware of them, especially if they're a seriously qualified lead. Aside of the sudden bout of piss-em-offism you're going to give them, at worst, you're the proud new owner of the first impression in their mind being this person has no idea what they're doing, or at best you're gonna get completely ignored. Which I gotta let you know is not the best position to be in, but as someone that was formerly socially crippled, I never got to that stage, thankfully. Mainly because I just didn't dare outreach so hazardly to other people. But I did get a few DMs, and I still do, where I see the message and I want to throw the person into the stratosphere. But just ignored them or told them very politely that this was a very bad outreach message. So if this is the bad way, then what is the good way? Well, the problem with any kind of cold outreaching really is that you're trying to bridge the gap between stranger to immediately client as quickly and as effectively as you can. And while it's not impossible, it takes proper skill and effort to actually do. You have to thoroughly research them, who they are, what they do, what they like, what they don't like, what things they are passionate about, what things they are trying to build, what things they're trying to create, or what problems that they're having right now, and use all of that to tailor it into your cold outreach message, from the conversational tone to what things you offer to them to what advice that you give them. Then you combine that with valuable deliverables, maybe a connection from your network, maybe a free sample, maybe some past story of a very relevant situation that could help fix their problem, and then of course the right social proof from preferably people that they know or are in a similar age, niche field of work that they are in, to just put them over the edge. To at the very least give you a chance. And if you haven't done that before or have a fair bit of sales experience, maybe from other past work, then it becomes a pretty big ask. One way you can kind of break that down and make it a little more manageable is have a lot of little short interactions between you two to kind of build up that familiarity and trust. Whether that's through an email chain, maybe engaging with them on social media, being referred to from inside their network. There's a million ways really, concerted effort that goes beyond seeing them as a record on a spreadsheet, pretty much. Now, this isn't any new information. This has existed throughout the history of all sales and marketing. It's just that we're kind of rediscovering it in an age of social media and online communication. It's what's roughly called as nurturing a lead. And now the idea is learning how to do that in a world that the default in it is online communication and social media. So I'll just give you a quick progression of the stages I went through all the way from the start to what I am experimenting with and working on right now, so you can see where you are and just jump ahead to the front of the progression line. Obviously, this isn't something that I found on my first day of trying to start this whole thing. At the very start, I went the same way that almost everybody did. I was seeing where the interest was and where people were looking to get someone to help them with their work and just going from there. And that started as sending messages to posts on Reddit and sometimes through Upwork or other similar freelancing platforms, whatever pick that you want. Cold, untailored messages that had no trigger to them beside, oh, someone posted a request, and then just beelining to them as quickly as possible so I can land my first pitch in with my portfolio that I'm not even sure I had at the time. But then I got banned off of Reddit, and then I had to rebuild everything back up on what is now X, Twitter, whatever name. And then that developed from just thoughtless messages that were completely untailored and unspecific to looking at their profile, seeing what things that they posted about recently and using one of those as the opening line to the DM, making a joke, making a pun, a thoughtful comment or insight, just anything to break the ice. And that was an improvement because I was getting more responses from it, so I knew I was heading down the right direction roughly. And then I was making samples to anyone that I really wanted to work with for whatever reason. High follower count, they just had a really cool personality, I liked their content, and maybe they just had a really good budget that I knew we could work with. And then slipping that along with the DM messages. And then past that point, I was looking on what content that they already had online. I was looking at their videos and seeing what kind of feedback that I could give that could help improve their work that wasn't entirely obvious and was more based on my own experience. Leading us to the topic of today, and a little bit mixed up with the topic of the last video, is where I thought that maybe even that is a bit too much too quickly. Leading us to the topic and the progression of this video before I experiment with something else in the future that could be potentially better, but I think this is the best that we got right now. But if you're here, then I'm assuming that you're running some online service business that is fairly high ticket. High ticket here can mean anything from like $500 plus. It's a rough definition, but if one sale gets you to cover your living expenses for a month, then I'd say that qualifies. Anyways, I want you to put together a list, a group, whatever the platform that you're on calls it, and add to it every person that you want to work with and want to interact and build a connection with in the long term. Be careful that they're not too big, you get better at judging it, but generally don't go for anything above 100,000 followers. Most of the clients that you're gonna get from past that point are just gonna be referrals from people that are below that number that you already connected with and are working with. And then just start interacting with them. Show up, comment, engage with their posts, try to be helpful, see what things that you can improve and help them to reach towards their goal. Give without the expectation of return, even though that by chance, somehow, some way, someone through serendipity, it's gonna come back to you anyways. Because the moment that you give with some expectation in mind, I promise you that it's gonna ruin everything and it's gonna show. Over time, you'll find them replying back to you. You'll start engaging more. Conversations will happen. From there, you can just ask them what they're building, what they're working on, what problems that they're having. And if your skill/offer can help fix that for them and get them closer to their goals, then offer some expertise on what they can do or how they can move forward. And then after that, you can just, hey, I can also do it for you if you want. And then bam, you got a client. Congrats. If your service doesn't help, then don't pitch it. And beyond it being a crappy move, also don't ghost them after it, because beside the being jerk part, who knows, maybe that they'll share a post from you and it'll reach a super qualified client. Maybe they will internally refer someone from their network when they ask about someone that does what you do. Just be a good dude, or do that, I don't know. But that's enough blabbering for today. If you're looking for more business content like this, then I do have a newsletter for you in the description. I know, enough plugging with that. I'll see you soon. Bye.